I think every Lego collector has at least one set they regret not purchasing or they missed out on for one reason or another. For me, there are loads. The UCS Imperial Shuttle, the B-Wing and the AT-OT with dropship, just to name a few. Now the secondary market is getting insanely expensive and some of these sets don't appear to be showing any signs of being re-released, and if they were, they'd probably be downsized. So I wanted to look into ways of adding one of these sets to my collection in a cheaper way. The decision was made and I've opted for the AT-OT with dropship, possibly one of the coolest Star Wars sets ever made, certainly from the prequels. Now I'm aiming to get all the pieces directly from lego.com. Yes, the parts may have been cheaper on Bricklink, however due to me living in Ireland we don't have that many stores over here, so by the time I took postage into account, VAT, import charges from numerous sellers, Lego was the best option. Now I'm going to be using 3 websites for this project. Rebrickable for the instructions and part list. For some reason, at the time of making this video, Lego don't have the downloadable instructions for this set. Bricklink we're going to be using for part numbers and lego.com to purchase the parts. So first off, I start off by going on to Rebrickable and looking at the parts you need to build this set. At first glance, I was pretty confident that all of these parts are still available directly from Lego. With Lego's Pick a Brick, you can upload a parts list to their website and they'll put all of the pieces directly into your basket. On Rebrickable, you can get the parts list for sets in the correct format to download it and transfer it over to Lego. I did try this and it said there were about 60 parts that were not available on Lego's website. However, when I looked at the list, a lot of those pieces I'm sure I'd seen in recent sets. So I decided to scrap this method and work my way through the parts list one by one. Now this was quite time consuming, but at least I knew this way that I was not going to miss any parts off. One problem I did come across was that some Lego pieces have more than one part code on Bricklink, so you have to find the correct code so you can then find it on Lego's Pick a Brick. And this may have been the reason that the list earlier on was showing 60 unavailable parts. Now with some parts, Bricklink stated that the parts haven't been produced in several years, but again I was sure I'd seen these pieces recently, so with a little bit more research I just needed to find the latest version to get the correct part code. There were a handful of pieces that were not available in the correct colour, so I've just found them in an alternative colour I thought would do the job perfectly. There was a couple of parts that were not available in the correct colour or no longer produced, so I've had to get creative with those, but I'll cover that later on in the video. As I was adding the items to the basket, it came up with a message saying that I'd hit the maximum number of different pieces for an order. This meant I was going to have to place 2 separate orders. This was no big deal and worked out perfectly, as there were some restrictions on certain pieces, such as the wing part. You need 16 to create the set, and the maximum permitted in an order is 10. So 10 in one order, 6 in the other, problem solved. After a few hours we had the 2 orders placed, and now I just had to wait for the parcel to arrive, plus make a trip to the local shop to purchase some rubber bands, as I couldn't find any on the Lego website, and you need 3 for the build. Within a couple of weeks we had the Lego parts in the Lego room and we're good to go. thoughts on the build? Fantastic. This set really holds up well, and I thoroughly enjoyed the building experience. Being that this is a set I missed out on when it was on the shelves, and there's no way I'm paying the current prices on the secondary market, I feel this was the perfect compromise. It would have been nice to have the stickers for the set, but I can live without them. At the time of making this video, there are 5 sellers on Bricklink selling the sticker sheet, and it will cost me over €300 to get, which is more than I'm prepared to pay. The stickers that go below the cockpit of the dropship do add a lot to the overall look of this amazing craft. Now, David Hall, Solid Brick Studios, he recently put a video out on his YouTube channel showing some printed pieces for the Republic gunship, which he sells on his Minifigs for You website. And I'll put a link to that video in the description. So I think I'll be purchasing some of these to see if I can integrate them onto the dropship. Now, they are the incorrect shape and size. I think he's printed them on 4x6 tiles as opposed to the 6x8 sloped tile which is on the dropship. However, I'm sure there is a way to make it work with a couple of tweaks and additional pieces. The original Lego set came with Phase 1 clones and a couple of Phase 1 pilots. However, again, at the time of making this video, they're not currently available in the shops. You can, however, get the Phase 2 clones in a battle pack, which, to be fair, is a little bit more accurate to when we see the ATOT on the big screen. So I have purchased a couple of battle packs just so I can add some minifigs to the build, and I'll probably use the pilots from the latest ARC 170. So what are the main differences between the original set and this recreation? If we start with the ATOT, the belly of the walker has 4 of a part which are available but not in the correct colour or a suitable colour. I got around this by making an alternative. I did need to ignore the instructions with this part and use some plates where it said bricks, but it was very easy to get to the same point. And when you look at it, this is exactly the same size and does not affect the visuals of the walker, so I class that as job done. With the feet, there was a pre-moulded piece that's no longer available. However, you can easily replace this by using 4 alternative pieces, and once the build is complete, you can't tell the difference. There are a couple of wedge plates which again are not currently available in the correct colour, so I've just swapped those over to a different colour. I'm sure I've got them in my collection, so if I do come across them, I may very well swap them over. The windscreen element should have had stickers on it, which would improve the look. However, I'm not a massive fan of stickers, and it's very rare for me to actually add them onto my sets anyway, so for me, it's not a big miss. On the legs of the walker, there are 8 printed 4x4 discs. Now, the plain discs that I've used don't look anywhere near as good. However, again, this is one part I'm going to try to improve in the future. So again, not too worried about this part. The dropship was really easy to complete. Again, there were very few pieces that were not available. These round parts, they were not available in the correct colour. However, I think I prefer them in dark bluish grey over the dark tan. There were some flexi tubes which should have been in black. I've had to settle for silver, but again, I think I actually prefer it in silver. There were some 4x2 slope wedge pieces in dark blue that are set next to a 2x2 45-degree slope. Now, these are not currently available. However, there is a 6x2 piece which matches the opposite side of the wing, so I'm putting that down as an improvement. Personally, I think it looks much better, and I'm not sure why Lego didn't use this piece in the first place. The windscreen that was used in the set is no longer available. However, there is a piece that came in the June Ornithopter set that is very similar and does the job. It is a little bit more blocky than the original, so this is a part that we'll be looking to improve on in the future. Just in front of the cockpit, there is a slope piece, which again wasn't available in dark blue. I ordered one in dark red and one in dark bluish grey to see which I preferred, and I think the grey is the way forward. On the engines, the part that I needed in white, I got in blue. The parts I needed in blue, I got in white. Again, I think it looks just as good. Now, if I've gone on Bricklink, this set used cost between €659, and that one has no minifigures in it, to an insane €1,724. Brand new, you're talking from €1,723 up to a whopping €3,360. So how much did it cost me going directly through Lego? Well, the pieces cost me €330. Add the cost of a couple of battle packs on there for the minifigures, that's another €40. The ARC 170 for the pilots, another €50. Oh yeah, and €1 for the rubber bands. So we're talking in the region of €420, which is almost 2/3 of the price of a used set which has no minifigures. Plus, the way I've done it, I've also got an ARC 170 and all the extra pieces from the battle packs as well. Happy days. I'm so glad I've gone about making this awesome set. As mentioned, the price on the secondary market are insane, and for me, this was a much more satisfying way of getting a set I've always wanted. I'm not worried about the box. That goes straight in the bin as soon as I've made a set. For me, it's all about the Lego. Now, I will be making some amendments to this set to try and give it that more modern, polished look. But I'll do that in another video. This is definitely something I want to do again. So I'll be going through my Lego books, see what other sets I've missed out on and what I can recreate. I've got a couple of ideas, and I know there are some pieces that are no longer available, or no pieces currently available look anything like it. So I know I'm going to have to get creative with that, but that's a challenge I'm really looking forward to. Let me know in the comments below what set you would like to make using Pick a Brick. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content on the channel. And if you know anybody else you think would be interested in this video, if you could share it with them, it'd be much appreciated. Anyway, thanks for popping on by. Until next time, bye for now.